Hello everyone, welcome to today's video, and as you can see we'll be doing a Nubatama deck build video. First of all, let me start by saying exams are a pain, and that's why I haven't been uploading that often. But you know, we'll start off with this, and in the following weeks there should be two other decks that are quite recent that I want to show you guys, so stay tuned for that. But right now, we're starting off with Stealth Rogue of the Wintry Wind, Kamojigusa. These names are also a pain, so bear with it. She has the Forerunner ability and After Image, and she has a GB1. When this unit is placed on reguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, your opponent chooses a card from his or her bind zone and puts it in the drop zone. If one of the cards was put in the drop zone, you can unflip one. So that's pretty handy. Or she can be used as a shield. Next up, triggers. 4 crits. But what are you with 4 crits if you could have 8 crits? 4 heals. And last but not least, 4 Stealth Dragon. There he is. 4 Stealth Dragon Onibidoshi. He also has After Image and a GB1 skill when this unit is placed on reguard, and the number of cards in your hand is less than your opponent. Draw a card and return this unit to your deck. Shuffle your deck and choose one of your other unit, and it gains plus 3000. So that's handy to increase a bit of hand size, etc. Next up, for the grade 1s, 4 of the rare Perfect Guard, Stealth Beast Aramatabi. He's basic Perfect Guard, but only for the Vanguard, and has the After Image ability and a GB1 skill when Soul Blast 1 and when he's boosted. And you already have a Aramatabi in your drop zone. You may pay the cost. If you do, your opponent chooses a card from his or her bind zone and puts it in the drop zone, which is, pretty handy, getting that bind zone empty. Next up, Stealth Beast Kurosakazuki. It's a limit break enabler, pretty self-explanatory. Then 2 Stealth Rogue of the Night, Sakura Fubuki, an AK, and very ninja-like, ninja demon. The next one is 3 Stealth Dragon Dread Monster. That's a bit simpler. Counterblast 1, when an attack hits during the battle, this unit is boosted to Nubatama. If the number of cards in your hand is less than your opponent, you may pay a cost. If you do, your opponent chooses a card from his or her hand and discards it, which can be disastrous if your opponent only has 1 card left. Looking at you, that heal trigger that could potentially save the game. And the last grade 1 is Stealth Beast Katarigitsune. I'm getting better at this. It's a basic stride helper because this deck does have a few strides. Next up, for the grade 2s, we have 3 Shura Stealth Dragon Murasame Kongo. His skill is Soul Blast 1 and choose a card from your hand and discard it. When this unit is placed on reguard, and you have 2 Shura Stealth Dragons on your Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 with Shura Stealth Dragon in its card name and reveal it. Shuffle your deck and your opponent chooses a card from his or her binder and put it in the drop zone, and he gets plus 2000. Once again, to destroy your opponent's field, your opponent's bind zone, restrict him even more, it can always be handy. Then the other Legion mate, Shura Stealth Dragon Dharani Kongo. His skill is when this unit attacks a Vanguard and your Vanguard is Legion, until end of battle it gets plus 2000, and Soul Blast 1 when his attack hits. You may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 2 cards from your opponent's bind zone and put them in the drop zone. Once again, disastrous. And exactly what we're going for. Then the Fighters Collection card, Stealth Rogue of Nightfog Ogitomaru. When this unit attack hits, choose up to 1 card from your opponent's bind zone and put it in the drop zone. Once again, we're supposed to destroy the bind zone, leave your opponent with 0 cards. And then, last but not least, Stealth Beast Kibamaru. A very pretty card, I do like him. You know, Kiba and Akamaru Naruto hashtags all over the place. Yeah, it's a basic 12k GB1, but pretty good nonetheless. Next up is our Legion leader, Shura Stealth Dragon Hokage Kongo. Once again, hashtag Naruto. This should be called a Naruto deck build actually, but it's Shura Stealth Dragon. You know, his skill is he can Legion with both Darani Kongo and Murasame Kongo, and his skill is Counter Blast 1. When this unit legions, you may pay a cost, and you can bind all of your opponent's rear guards face up. He chooses one of his cards at random and binds it face down, and at the end of the turn your opponent puts the bound card back into his hand. All of them. And Soul Blast 1 if you have another unit in the middle column, it gains plus 2000. Now, if you were to think I'm running the other Legion leader, you're wrong. I'm running 2 of the Shura Stealth Dragon Kabuki Kongo, which is Counter Blast 1 when this unit attacks a Vanguard. You may pay the cost if you do bind all of your opponent's rear guards face up, and if the number of cards in your opponent's binder is 3 or more, he gains plus 10,000, and your opponent puts those bound cards into, at the end of the turn into his or her hand. And Counter Blast 1 for plus 2,000. So that's why we have that Limit Break Enabler in there. And of course for this card, which is actually really cool, Shura Stealth Dragon Kujikiri Kongo. No, that actually went pretty well. It's the Nubatama Break Ride, and you know, basically plus 10,000, and your opponent chooses a card from his or her hand and discards it, and another card and binds it face down. And at the end of the turn, put it back into the hand. And when this unit attacks himself, if your opponent's hand is 3 or less, he gains plus 2000. This card is a pain to play against. I've noticed it myself because my girlfriend and I have been playtesting this deck, and it can be really annoying, especially with decks that don't have a lot of hand itself. This card combined with the Legion or a Stride can be disastrous. This is the basic Stride for Nubatama. When this unit attack hits, your opponent chooses a card from his or her hand and discards it. That's nothing all too special. But then we have this card, which is a GB2, Counter Blast 1, and you have to have a hard card with Shura Stealth Dragon. Choose a card at random from your opponent's hand and bind it face down. Then if the number of cards in your opponent's hand is 3 or less, bind all of your opponent's rear guards face up. At the end of that turn, your opponent puts a card back into his or all the cards back into his or her hand. This card, can't tell you enough how annoying it is. Just for a counter blast, so if you're working up for this card, it can be disastrous. Then, if I'm not mistaken, we have 2 Rikudo Stealth Dragon Joriru Rikan. Counter Blast 2. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards and bind it face up. Your opponent chooses a card from his or her hand and bind it face down. And if you have a Shura Stealth Dragon hard card, at the end of that turn, the cards that were bound with this effect are going into the drop zone. And if not, at the end of that turn, your opponent puts the cards that were bound by this effect back into his or her hand. So this card, you know, it's an instant drop zone, basically, so it's a very good card. Then we have 4 Rikudo Stealth Dragon Zara Merakan. When this unit attack hits, choose a card from your opponent's hand and random and bind it face down. If you have 3 or more rear guards with the After Image ability, your opponent chooses a card from his or her hand, puts it into his or drop zone, and at the end, back to the hand. This one could be stepped down a bit for more Joriru Rikan, or the other one. And last but not least, 1 Jinx Stealth Hermit Abuda Taishi. Very pretty card once again. The only G-Guard in this deck. It could get bumped up depending on whether Nubatama is getting more G-Guardians. I might put in a second one of him. And when this unit is placed on Guardian, if the number of cards in your opponent is 6 or less, he gains plus 5,000, which is pretty simple because you're destroying your opponent's hand anyway. His hand is field everything. So yeah, basically that was the video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time for, the next video. Bye.